Well, the federal government's promised to crack down on zombie superannuation accounts, but how much will it really save you? And do you really have to wait until the proposed changes become law? Our Consumer Affairs reporter Amy Bainbridge joins us now in the studio. I like the word zombie because half the problem is the language generally has been completely over most people's heads, hasn't it?
It always is, and this is the problem. This is one of those products that is an essential service in a way now for consumers, and it's become so far removed from something that is consumer friendly, and people don't engage with superannuation because of these terms. And those figures from the Productivity Commission that there are 10 million zombie accounts out there. So that's when people have multiple accounts.
Yeah.
And I was guilty of that at one point as well, having worked lots of casual jobs through uni and early in my journalism career. I think I had 7 or 8 accounts at one point that I had to consolidate some years ago.
If you've got accounts that you don't contribute to because you've changed jobs and they're still sitting there, the fees in them basically dwindle down and take away all your money.
Yeah, so I had one account that had about $3,000 sitting in it, and I looked through the fees and it was eroding all profits for that year. So that's pretty outrageous. Not surprisingly, people also, young people who should be kind of concerned about this, don't engage. When I looked at my latest account over the weekend, my latest statement, they have terms on it like member component, productivity component, transfer amount component and employer component, and your eyes just glaze over.
Yeah.
So it's no wonder people aren't engaged, but there are things you can do to fix the situation, and the Productivity Commission's trying to do that as well.
The Productivity Commission mentioned that a third of all people who have superannuation funds are economically illiterate, or they basically don't know what's going on with their super. So much money is involved.
So much money is involved, so many fees are involved. There's been a lot of criticism, of course, of some of the retail funds in particular charging high fees.
So are you saying that people shouldn't wait to find out what new laws come in after the Banking Royal Commission and start to look at their superannuation now?
I couldn't say that more strongly, in more strong language today. It's actually not as hard as you think. Back when I rolled all my super over, it actually did take a fair bit of time. It was quite irritating, and I remember contacting one fund and they said, well, to move over your super, you need to create an online account. And I was like, okay, great. And then I needed to have a password for that email to me, and that email never arrived. And it was another 6 months until I actually chased it up. You try and get on the phone to them. The industry really needs to step up here. But things have improved. All you need is your tax file number, which you can get quite easily from the tax office or your employer, and jump online and start consolidating now, because you can save yourself tens of thousands of dollars. And the Productivity Commission is saying, look, if you're young, entering the workforce now, and you get this sorted, you could have as much as $500,000 more in your retirement balance, and that is a huge amount.
And what happens then with this top 10 that they're talking about, the top 10 companies, and if you're not in super funds that are in the top 10? I mean, it is confusing.
It is confusing. So this has become a bit of a political football, but also industry is really weighing into this heavily. So the thinking behind it is you would have an independent panel that ranks the top 10 best in show, as they're saying. The criticism, of course, is that could stifle competition in the sector, although that said, if you look at our banking system, we have 4 big banks and then some smaller players come in as well. So there is a system that works like that already. Whether that's what we want, well, that's, remains to be seen. But I guess the thing I would say is please, take a look and get engaged. And now these days, there are funds that if you have a bent where you would like ethical investing, you can go down that path. If you have a special interest, just get engaged and see where your money's going. And if you have multiple accounts, roll them into one.
That is good advice.
Cool.
Amy Bainbridge, thank you very much. You have delivered that well, and hopefully some people are sitting there listening to it this morning.
Some great advice. Thanks, Amy.